So protein is very popular for building muscle, but can protein help you sleep better? Let's look at some of the research on this. So let's begin by summarizing this paper. Protein intake and its association with sleep quality results from 3 cohort studies. Here we have over 97,000 men and women. They're part of the Nurses' Health Study that's been going on since the 1970s. Protein intake is assessed every 4 years to see what impact it might be having on sleep. Now in this paper, they do point out that the total amount of protein did not seem to be associated with sleeping better. However, bad news for meat lovers, animal sources of protein in this paper were associated with poorer sleep outcomes. In other words, you don't sleep so well. However, things get a little murky when they point out that plant sources of protein are either not associated or positively associated with sleep quality. Translation here, some studies show plant protein improves sleep. Other studies show plant sources of protein do not improve sleep. However, the end of the paper is what got my attention, and that's when they say our results suggest that plants as a source of protein may be associated with better quality of sleep than animal. Well, a little further up, they said it may or may not. So they left out the may not at the end of this study. Now, I'm all for eating more fruits and vegetables. However, by leaving out the may not help at the end of this study made this paper sound a little preachy to me. And that's because it looks like the research could go either way on plant protein. However, our story doesn't end here. Here is the next paper I want to call your attention to: protein intake and its effect on sleep outcomes, systematic review and meta-analysis of controlled trials. Here they looked at 10 previous sleep protein research studies, and they conclude that there's no significant effect of increased protein intake on sleep quality, sleep time, or how long it took people to get to sleep. Although when they drilled down a little further in this study, they do report that it seemed to be that higher protein intakes did seem to help the quality of sleep. And that brings us to this next investigation, the association between dietary protein and sleep quality in middle-aged and older adults in Singapore. Here we've got 104 men and women. They're between the ages of 50 and 75 years of age. They complete questionnaires on how well they're sleeping, and they do 3-day food diaries to record what they're eating, and they crunch the data and they come to these conclusions. Number one, they report that the total amount of protein that people ingested improved sleep duration, in other words, the length of time that we are sleeping at night. However, protein was not associated with sleep efficiency, how well we sleep, or the latency of sleep, in other words, how long it took for people to go to sleep. In other words, protein didn't help us sleep any better or help us get to sleep any faster. Now, when these researchers drilled down their data further, they did seem to find a relationship between tryptophan, the amino acid tryptophan, especially from plants, and the length of time people slept at night. I will point out, if you're reading this abstract, they do make things a little bit more complicated, as scientists tend to do, by calling it LNAA, where LNAA stands for large neutral amino acid. But either way you slice it, this kind of makes sense, because tryptophan, when it gets into the brain, is formed into 5-hydroxytryptophan, and this in turn helps us make serotonin, a neurotransmitter that is associated with better sleep. And just as an aside, I will point out that I do see tryptophan as an ingredient in many over-the-counter sleep supplements. Okay, so what does all this mean for you? So if you ask me, I'm not yet convinced on the ability of protein to improve or hinder how well you sleep at night. Just keep in mind that it takes protein longer to be digested. So if you consume too much protein at nighttime, this actually could interfere with sleep. So bottom line, at the end of the day and at night, everything in moderation.